seeing Amaya and Huda standing behind Andreina, it made me cry. It made me tear up because it was a moment of sisterhood, a moment of standing up for your own, a moment of support. Something about it just broke me because it was so inspiring, irregardless of all the drama that the girls have had, but just that moment. And then having Shirley come in and be her sister's keeper and standing behind her was amazing because she could have easily have gone. I know they were never going to stand behind Taylor, but she could have easily have stood with Olandria behind, Austin, but she chose to support another woman, and I loved that. I really loved that. And this game was the revelation people needed to know that Amaya is loved, because people have treated her badly. They've treated her like a pariah, and so people like Ace, seeing how popular Amaya is, made them question that, did I make the right decision in leaving Amaya? And I have a feeling, it seems like with Zach, they've mended things, or they might be mending things, but it was enlightening and it was uplifting for Amaya, given the fact that she had just been breaking up, the previous episode. So I love that for her. And this was savage. To dump five people was savage. And I was surprised because everybody else stood behind their partners, but some people said no. And it's like, okay, side eye. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island USA, Season 7, Episode 27. So the islanders have finished reading the postcards and everyone sort of storms off. Grayson is in her feelings because she didn't like the comment that was made, especially when they brought up Hannah. So she storms off. The guys get to sit on their own, the girls get to sit on their own, and they have chats. And personally, I feel like Huda and Ace are trying to milk this event because they realize that they didn't get the positive edit or the positive outcome that they were hoping for. So something's happening with my voice. Because the boys are asking Ace, and Ace is saying, this drained me, I'm really drained. No, he's not drained. Ace screwed up the way he spoke about Jeremiah. Ace screwed up the way he called out Austin. Ace screwed up the way he went after Amaya. And now he's trying to calculate, how do I change my narrative from where I've gone? Because I've really screwed up. I've made comments that might have put people off me. And so how do I change that and make myself the victim or give myself a redemption arc? That's the impression that I got. You had Taylor felt some type of way because he felt like, Olandria was trying to back him in a corner when he was honest with her. Taylor wasn't honest. He didn't tell her from the jump that there's no romantic spark. Had he told her that we're going to explore, see if we can find a connection that's deeper than just an initial romantic spark, she might have maybe got on board and maybe understood him. Yes, he was right that she dressed him down and called him out, and only his mother or his wife would speak to him like that. Yes, the way she spoke to him was unacceptable. Maybe she should have waited until the cameras were off because it doesn't give her a good edit on her part. But at the end of the day, she's entitled to express how she feels. The girls were bigging her up and saying, you stood on business, you stood on business. Yes, but I don't think that was the place to stand on business. When she spoke to him, when they took each other aside, that is when she should have spoken to him. Or she should have tried to hold it in a bit longer. And then after all this, she should have sat down with him and had the conversation and let him know how she felt truly. She spoke to Clark. That bit I didn't like, because if it gets back to Taylor, then it's not going to be a good look. Taylor is smitten with Clark. Taylor is really falling for Clark. There's something about Clark that he seems to really like. And so the idea that you had Olandria saying to Taylor, oh, you need to be careful because Taylor can drop you at the drop of a hat. No, he won't drop Clark the same way, because he is invested emotionally and physically in Clark, whereas with you he wasn't. There was no cuddling, there was no touching, there was no kissing. It was very rare when he was kissing you. It was like he was play acting, like someone was telling him, okay, now get into character, now place a kiss on her forehead, or do this, that, and the other. So I don't get why she sort of didn't pick up on that. Huda was there, but she was angry. She wasn't speaking to anyone. That's her own issue. Pepe felt some type of way about the comment that, he preferred Hannah more than Grayson. And Grayson felt attacked as well on her part because she felt like she caught strays. It wasn't intentionally pointed at her, but somehow she caught strays because of that situation. And everyone was trying to find out who exactly said this, who came up with this, and no one would say anything. And so the girls were calling out the person. The guys were discussing amongst themselves, and they said, no, this is not a comment that would come from the guys. This would be one of the girls. And initially, I suspected Huda. Why? Because we all know that Huda was exploring an emotional connection with Pepe before she went to Casa. So the idea that she came back from Casa after, I feel like Hannah was sent away so that Huda could get a chance with Pepe. And when they came back from Casa, she expected to find him single and came back and found him with Grayson. And so now there's no way she can go after him, especially given the fact that she took Chris from Shirley and he doesn't seem that keen, or he doesn't seem interested in pursuing that. So I always suspect that it might be Huda. You have Shirley and Olandria go for a chat and they are feeling some type of way. I get them going away because people will not understand them. They will end up with the same situation as Amaya, where people don't understand cultural differences and how people are sort of presented or how they come across no matter what they say. So I'm happy that Olandria said it's over with Taylor. It's about time that she got it in her head that it's over. But also at the same time, I wish Shirley had told her a couple of home truths in that moment. Shirley, on her part, feels some type of way about her connection with Ace. She feels some type of way about everything that was said, but hey, it is what it is. You have Taylor sort of speaking to TJ and telling him that he doesn't know why he was attacked by Olandria. And it's like the two of you avoided communication. You didn't have open and honest communication, even though you thought you were communicating. And this is why you're in the situation you're in, whereby everyone's feelings are hurt. Oh my God, this is going to be messy when it comes out. So in the morning, the islanders wake up. Obviously, Huda is upset. She feels some type of way. The other girls didn't have her back, so she goes and eats in Speakeasy all alone. Grayson is feeling some type of way because of the comments about Pepe and Hannah. And so the guys make breakfast. And surprise, surprise, Ace brings breakfast up for Shirley with a little flower. And it's like, okay, we see you. It's confusing because he was throwing a tantrum the day before, and it now comes across as though he's got this persona that he's trying to present, so he's going to do everything to make sure that the persona is presented correctly. I don't know. Anyway, you have Olandria and Huda finally go for a chat. I think it was production engineered. I think so. I think her sitting and crying in a corner made them feel like, oh, let's do something to try and repair this so that she's not all alone, or whether she went to production and said, I don't want to be here anymore, I want to go home. Something happened that caused that conversation. And I was side-eyeing that conversation quite a bit because yes, Olandria took responsibility. Yes, Olandria apologized, but I expected an apology from Huda to Olandria, even if she didn't feel like she offended Olandria, but just courtesy. Because if Olandria is saying, I'm so sorry I betrayed you, I know I've kept most of your secrets, and this is the one time that I didn't feel that type of way just because I'm friends with you and I'm friends with Shirley and I felt sort of caught in the middle. I get it. She took responsibility for her actions. She apologized. I would have loved her to say, I'm so sorry as well if you feel like I put you in an awkward position by telling you something that would have meant you were keeping a secret from somebody else. That would have been nice. Not for her to say, oh, thank you, and that's it. This is my issue with Huda. I feel like Huda is someone who likes things being done a certain way, or she likes, to be treated a certain way, and if things don't go her way, then she kicks off, just like she used to tell Jeremiah that you're very selfish. I find her very self-centered in the sense that she expects everybody else to revolve around her wants, her needs, and that sort of thing. You have... finally, Amaya go for a chat with Zach, and everyone in the villa was looking up because they knew it was about to pop off. And Zach, the problem with Amaya and Zach, I think they really like one another, but they come from two different cultural backgrounds in the sense that one is Asian, one is Dominican. And then the other thing is one grew up in New York, one grew up in Manchester. So the mixture of the Asian background and the Manchester sort of upbringing, then you take Amaya with her New York sort of Dominican background, there is going to be a lost in translation situation. And I think this is why they sort of clash, because with Zach on his part, yes, he's Asian, but he doesn't come across as very laid back and very quiet. At times when he's speaking, if you close your eyes and you listen to him and then you open, it won't align. It's sort of like you're on Love is Blind because his voice doesn't match, the face that you see in front of you. And so for them to clash about it, I get it. I really get it. Because Amaya is saying, if you had an issue with me, let me know. I remember during Casa when she was asking him for kisses that I felt some type of way, and I remember saying Amaya shouldn't be asking him for kisses. Maybe the way he packaged it wasn't the best, but at the end of the day, Amaya didn't need to ask him for a kiss. She should have waited for him to ask for a kiss, but I think she had been so starved of attention that the little attention he gave her, she was really sort of drawn to it and really wanted to maximize on that. And I think this is why. So for her to storm off, I think there's going to be a round two. I think they're going to sit down, or once somebody else comes and sort of mediates, they'll be able to understand one another. But without mediation, they're going to struggle. So maybe Brian needs to come and sort of mediate this thing and make sure that they both understand each other. But otherwise, they make a cute couple. Pepe finally sits down with Grayson for a chat because he's already told the guys that he's not feeling it. And I don't know why he didn't tell her. I don't know whether he was just trying to keep himself safe. And so being outed at the challenge, he has no choice but to speak up. He has no choice but to address Grayson's concerns. He says he wanted an initial spark. How many times did he expect a spark? If he had a spark with Hannah, he can't expect a spark with every single person. If that's how he felt when Hannah left, he should have followed her and gone home. He didn't need to stay in the villa. So him staying in the villa and saying he's open to exploring connections, then he needs to be open to that. And so poor Grayson, I think, had shut down everybody else because he thought she had it good. And so for this man to suddenly say, I don't have a spark and I don't know how to sort of bring that spark into this connection is really devastating for her. And now they've broken up. Hopefully they haven't broken up. Hopefully they've put it on ice, because the moment they break up, I have a feeling Huda is going to step in, because she already wanted Pepe and he was very distant during Hannah's reign. So I don't know now whether he'll be open to the idea of exploring a connection with her and see if they can grow that. But he's already refused Andreina unless he goes for, Olandria, but I don't think he's going to go after Olandria given how she lit up, Taylor the night before. So you have Huda and Chris they're having a conversation, because I think Huda was very low and she hadn't yet resolved her issues with the girls. They were talking about themselves as children. It seems they were both in the band. One was in the choir. One, I think Chris said he played a saxophone or something like that. And it feels like if you were to pick it up, you'd still be able to do it. I don't know how I feel about them as a couple, because in Casa they were non-existent, and then they had that little conversation in the revolving door room, and the next thing we know, they are now a couple. So I don't know how I feel about them as a couple. I don't know whether I'm buying it that there's romantic investment between sort of Huda and Chris. It could be there's something that we're not seeing, but thus far, outside of the kiss that they shared in Speakeasy, I don't know how I could justify them being a couple. You have Amaya go for a chat with Brian, and I'm happy that she pulled him for a chat, and she thanked him that thank you for sticking up for me last night. Thank you for explaining to everybody else, because it seemed nobody understood where I was coming from. So I'm happy that you were able to sort of try and bring the point across to everyone that I mean no harm when I sort of make these comments or when I make these gestures. It's just how we behave and how we speak. So she was happy with that. He seemed happy. I thought they were about to explore a romantic connection, but I don't think she's his type. So they were just brother and sister vibes. We finally have the conversation between Shirley and Huda. I think that conversation was chop, 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 and production only put what they felt was necessary. I think the girls were getting a lot of hate, and this is why production felt it was important for the conversations or the chats to be had and to be aired. Because Shirley, Olandria, and Sierra have been getting a lot of hate about this Huda situation. Surprisingly, Huda actually apologized to Shirley. Yes, I'm happy that they were both able to get their points across. The fact that Huda still insists that she brought Chris for the two of them, I don't get it. I really don't. I think Huda had initially brought Chris as a backup in case things didn't work out with Pepe. And when she came back and found Pepe with someone, that's why she ended up holding on to Chris and trying to make that work. And so for Shirley to feel some type of way, It's a double-edged sword because Shirley seems to have really enjoyed being in love triangles in the villa right from the very start when she at one point had three guys chasing after her. She had Charlie, Ace, and Austin. So it seems this is something, not that she loves triangles. I think she's very undecided, and that's why she'll always string people along until she sort of gets one of them to commit, or until she feels like this person has done enough for me. So I'm happy that they apologized. At least it eases the tension in the villa and allows people to be free. You have Taylor and Clark go to Soul Ties, and Clark is apologizing to Taylor that I'm sorry you went through what you went through, the conversations that were had at the challenge, which was really, yes, Olandria broke down, but sadly she broke down and she sort of vented all her sort of grief with the person in front of everybody else. And I think Taylor might have taken it better had they had a conversation away from everyone. Yes, he said he wanted to have a conversation with her, but he was going to wait until, he felt a bit better in himself, until he was more reserved, I think, and then he would take it from there. He really seems smitten. The fact that he's always making out with Clark wherever he is, it's either he's holding or he's kissing her. He seems smitten. Clark says she's happy, because he chose her and he put an end to that. So, hey, it is what it is. So you have everybody sort of just hanging around the villa. And then Clark receives a text message that reads, "Islanders, get ready to find out what America really thinks about you in tonight's villa game. Hate to burst your bubble, presented by Maybelline." And it's about to be a hot mess express. So you had the girls get ready. You had them, applying their makeup because obviously it's being sponsored by, maybe it's Maybelline. So that's why I think they decided to use that as a promo shot. And so you had all the girls touch up their makeup, then come out, meet up with the guys. And then they sort of went and sat by the benches because they were separate boys to girls. And Ariana came out. And this was a sponsorship. You could tell the episode was sponsored by Maybelline. Anyway, Ariana Maddox came out. She looked amazing. The excitement on the boys' face. I think if they were to say who wants to couple up with it, there would be a scramble. There really would be a scramble because certain people are big fans, especially Austin. Every time he has to compliment her. And the fact that he helped her up the stairs, and having seen this, Ace decided to jump in and try and do the same. It's like, Ace, please, it's too late. You've damaged yourself, your brand so much. You don't need to try and be cheesy and corny and copy from other people. And I think a lot of people are seeing, especially with the postcards where people were being called part of the Ace posse. People are seeing that, we are being treated as Ace's minions, so we need to step up and have our own sort of brand and have our own status on this show or impact on this show. So it was interesting. Anyway, Ariana then reveals that they carried out a survey. They asked the viewers to sort of choose who they thought was the most or who was the least on different topics. And then, the Islanders were told that you'd have to rank yourself. So initially they would come out, rank themselves, and then the opposite sex would see if it's correct. And if not, then they would readjust it. And then Ariana would reveal what the results were. And this was quite insightful. The first one, who is the least genuine? And the guys decided to go for Zach because they said he was the least genuine because of the fact of the Amaya situation, and Elon they said was the most genuine. Well, viewers begged to differ. So the viewers felt that their ranking was Austin, TJ, Ryan, Elon, Nick, Zach, Chris, Pepe, Ace, and then Taylor was least genuine. Obviously, it's because of the whole Olandria situation. But this was scary for Ace because I don't think Ace thought he would be down the ranking like that. Next question was best boyfriend material to least. And so Ace, they put him as the best boyfriend material because apparently of all the gestures, the breakfast, there were blah, 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 blah. The least, they put Austin. And guess what? The viewers begged to differ. So the viewers decided that it was Pepe, Chris, Nick, Elon, Zach, Brian, TJ, Ace, Austin, and last Taylor. Taylor was not having a good day at the office because of, his situation with Olandria. And then came the girls. Girls, who would you trust the most or the least? So the girls put Shirley because, Shirley said, because everybody comes to me for advice. And then the least, they said Huda. Well, the boys begged to differ. They said they would trust the most Jaden because Jaden is a detective. And what was happening is when you got the most, you'd get the confetti. When you got the least, you'd get slimed. So Jaden got the confetti. Huda was slimed. The results shocked them all, I think, because Amaya Papaya was the most trustworthy, and then it was Iris, Olandria, Grayson, Huda, Sierra, Jaden, Shirley, and then last but not least, Clark. Clark sadly caught strays because of the fact that she's in a couple with Taylor. Next one was most to least genuine, and they said Olandria was the most genuine. She says, I keep it 100. And then Clark just said, I'll just stay here because, it's I'm still going to be down here because I think she had seen how she'd been ranked on the trustworthy. And the boys begged to differ. They said Adriana is the, least genuine. So the results came in. Amaya Papaya was number 1. Amaya, Iris, Olandria, Grayson, Huda, Jaden, Sierra, Andreina, Shirley, and lastly Clark. Poor Clark was caught in the crossfire. And then the last question was rank couples you want to go on vacation with from most to least. And because Amaya was constantly being number 1, Amaya and Zach went to number 1, Clark and Taylor went to least. And the results came in. It was Amaya and Zach was correct. It was Sierra and Nick, Grayson and Pepe, Huda and Chris, Iris and TJ, Jaden and Austin, Andreina and Brian, and then Shirley and Ace, and lastly Clark and Taylor. With Shirley and Ace, they were shocked. They were really shocked because this was a rude awakening for them because they've navigated this with the intention of winning. So the results didn't play to what they thought. Anyway, then they were told that the viewers were asked to vote for their most favorite boy and most favorite girl, and then least favorite girl and least favorite boy. So you could tell the bombshells were nervous because if you're a day one, unless you've done something really messy, you've got a fan base as compared to someone who's coming through Casa. So with the girls, it was Jaden, Grayson, and Andreina. They had the lowest, and then TJ, Taylor, and Austin had the lowest as well. So it was then revealed that they all stood on podiums, the 6 of them, and they were told that the Islanders would vote by standing behind who they wanted to save. So with Taylor was going to be popular regardless of the mess. Had they gone with the viewers' vote, maybe he would have gone home, but I don't think it was going to happen. Anyway, so first up was Clark. Clark stood up. She went and she chose Taylor. It makes sense that she would look after her best interest because that's her guy. Iris went and stood behind TJ. And then so the end result was Taylor had Clark, Pepe, Nick, Ace, and Sierra. And I know people will feel some type of way, but at the end of the day, I have a feeling that Nick knew that Sierra was close friends with Olandria, and irregardless of what happened with the case and stuff, he still fought for Olandria. And I think this is why Sierra returned the favor and decided to fight for Nick's friend, irregardless of her relationship with Olandria. I think she'll explain that away and Olandria will be able to understand that. Sadly for TJ, he had Iris and Zach. Andreina, she had girl power. She had Huda, Amaya, and Shirley. And I loved it because the Hispanic ladies supported each other. And then Shirley came in as the third support system. Because once the 2 girls were stood behind her, I think Andreina thought that was it because Brian didn't stand behind her. But then when Shirley came, I think this was insightful to her because this was someone she wasn't expecting. Jaden, she had Brian and Chris, and that didn't make sense to me. That really didn't make sense. Unless Chris was standing beside his friend, then that makes sense. Because I don't understand why Brian didn't stand behind Andreina, or whether he was told you can't stand there, or whatever happened there. I don't get it. Grayson only had Elon, sadly. Austin only had Olandria. And it was, wow. I guess the problem with Austin is he alienated the guys when he called them the ace posse. Maybe that's why. So you have the Islanders then, be advised that they only have 30 minutes to pack their bags and leave the villa. Only one person gets to be saved, and that was Taylor, which was really sad though for the rest of them because at least had they said three of you, then it would make sense. And the problem now is they've dumped 3 girls and 2 guys. So what's going to happen with the one guy that's been left without a couple? I don't know. I think the next dumping will be of a guy. Anyway, while they're packing their bags, you have Iris sort of pull, TJ for a chat. TJ said to her, this is your journey. He was more or less encouraging her to stay. I think she was debating going home. And I know she's staying. Her only option is to explore a connection with who? With Pepe, because Pepe doesn't have a partner. I don't think she'll explore with, Brian. I think Brian, sadly, is the only person without a couple. Brian and Pepe, they are the 2 guys without partners, because Austin went with his partners. So I don't know where that will lie, what will happen in that case. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It was a great episode. Really enjoyed the twist of having people stand. That way you stand on business. You're not lying that I supported this person or I supported the other. You stand on business. People know where your allegiance lies and they take it from there. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 26. Bye everyone.